everybody, it's Becky. Welcome back to my channel. I love organizing videos. If you guys are like me, I watch them all the time on YouTube. I love to get inspired by other people's houses and rooms and to see how they organize things, and maybe makes me think, okay, maybe this will work for me. So I love watching organizational videos, and I have shared quite a few in the past, not as often as I would like to, but I do try to share them whenever I feel like I have something to share. So this video is a little bit different though. I'm not necessarily talking about one specific space that I'm organizing, but I'm talking about the things that I try to remember and try to go by whenever I'm organizing any space that are relevant to no matter what space and what project you're trying to organize. So stay tuned if you would like to see those. So my first thing that I try to do whenever I do any organizing project is to sit down and think about what really needs to go in this space. Are there things in this space or room that I know need to be taken out? And are there things that I don't have in there but I want to make room for? I sit down and think about that, the function of the room, how I want it to work, what's not working about the way that it is currently, and then I like to sit down and sketch it out. Even if my measurements aren't exact, I do try to take measurements and kind of write that down and get an idea, but just to kind of pencil it in and see what might work where, and then I can kind of fine tune that as I go through the process. But that really helps me to kind of get my mind around what's not working with the room already and what I need to change to fix that problem, and then what else I might want to put in that room that's not currently. My second tip is to not be too inspired by other people. It is really amazing that there's so many resources out there for us to look at to get ideas. With Pinterest and YouTube videos, it's amazing. I mean, we can learn so much from each other, but sometimes seeing all these things that other people are doing really can be overwhelming and not make us think of the space that we actually have to work with, and we get kind of caught up in what someone else is doing and not paying enough attention to what's actually going to work for us. You have to take into consideration that your family is maybe different than someone else's. You may have more kids, or you may have no kids. You may have very few toys, you may have tons of toys. There's all different aspects that make what you're dealing with different than what you're seeing someone else do. If you were watching a video about how to organize a linen closet, and this person's linen closet that you saw was gorgeous and their sheets were folded just such a perfect way, but if you know realistically that you're not gonna keep up with folding your sheets that way, or your kids or your spouse are not going to keep up with folding things that way, then it's not going to stay organized. You have to really figure out what's going to work for you and what's going to be realistic. What are you going to be able to keep up with week in and week out to have that space stay organized? I've done the same thing. I've watched someone's video, or I've seen a Pinterest post, and I've gone out and bought whatever that person was using, and then I get home and realize that's not going to work in our space. That's not how we do things around here. Things aren't going to get put back that way. And so you really have to learn that it's great to be inspired by other people and get ideas from other people, but at the end of the day, you really have to figure out how you and your family are going to be able to make something work for your lifestyle and not what is working for somebody else. When it comes to organizational baskets and bins and all the different things that we use for different organizing projects, it's great to have a lot of variety. And I keep a lot. I mean, I keep pretty much every organizational container that I've ever had. Yes, it's a little bit of a storage issue in my garage. I try to keep them organized. But having those already kind of in my arsenal really helps me when I am doing a new organizational product, that I shop my own organizational bins before I go shopping for anything else. And the one thing that really helps with this is to keep those organizational bins organized. As strange as that sounds, before they were just thrown up in the shelf in the garage. I never knew where things were. I couldn't find this certain size of container or that certain bin or basket. But I have since organized them all, and it has been life-changing because now I can go to my garage, I know exactly where they are, and I can take certain bins with me that have other organizers inside, take that entire bin with me to wherever I'm organizing something, use what I need, and then put it back. I'm not making 15,000 trips to the garage to get more baskets. I'm not wandering and I'm not digging through and looking for a certain bin that would fit a certain drawer. Everything is organized. So as weird as it sounds, organized, you're organizing bins. You will thank me later. Another really important organizational tip that I think pretty much any professional organizer will tell you, and it is to make sure that you leave room for growth. Unless you have a lot of willpower and self-control, and you're gonna follow that one in, one out rule, then you don't need this tip. It's not for you. But if you're like me, and just because you may bring something new in doesn't mean that you want to or need to give up something else you already have to make room for that new thing. Now, if it's something that's got like a hole in a shirt and I'm replacing the shirt, then obviously I'm gonna get rid of the shirt with the hole in it. But if it's just something extra to wear or something new we're bringing into the house we've never had before, I'm not necessarily gonna get rid of something else before I bring this new thing in. And if you're like that too and you organize a space, you wanna make sure you leave room for growth, because you could have your closet perfectly organized and you have exactly room for 8 pairs of shoes, but if you get that 9th pair of shoes and you're not gonna get rid of one of those other pairs, then what are you gonna do with them? Throw them in the floor? Probably. Leave them in the shoebox and shove them on a shelf. You know, you're gonna stick them somewhere else to make room for that 9th pair. So make sure, if you are not gonna practice the 1 in, 1 out rule, that you have room for growth when you're organizing any space. That will ensure that you have a certain amount of room left over to bring new things in before you have to really get rid of something else to make room for the new things. So if you're like me and you have a lot of organizational projects ahead of you, and you have a lot of decluttering to do that may seem overwhelming, break it up into little things, little sessions per day. So what I would do if I was in my bathroom brushing my teeth, I would look around for something that was an expired product, or something I didn't like that I wasn't using, or a color of nail polish that I knew I didn't like, or that wasn't very good formula and I was just gonna throw it away. So every time I was in a room, I would do that. If I was in the kitchen making dinner, I went through my utensil drawer and got rid of any utensils that I didn't like or weren't using, or whatever the reason was. I would just get rid of those. Whatever room I happened to be in, if I had an extra minute that I was doing something or passing through and I saw something, I would grab it and get rid of it right then. That really has helped, especially in my bathroom and my closet, where there are so many things that need to be decluttered and gotten rid of. It was really a lot easier for me to do it that way in little bite-sized pieces than it is to have a huge decluttering project, to face ahead of you. So while you may actually have to do that as well, I think doing these little bitty decluttering sessions each day really does help you to keep from being overwhelmed, and makes that decluttering project you might do later on a lot less daunting when you've gotten rid of a lot of stuff already. Another way that I got rid of stuff in my house that I no longer wanted was Facebook Marketplace. Of course, you can donate things, you can have a yard sale. I'm not ever gonna have a yard sale again. I had one last year. It was so much work and I didn't make hardly anything. And I'm not a good negotiator, and some of those people that come to yard sales, they are hardcore. Like, they want to stand there and haggle with you, and that is not me. I'm not pushy enough to kind of like get right back at them and be like, no, I'm only gonna take this for that, So I ended up pretty much selling a lot of stuff that I didn't want to for a certain price that I really shouldn't have. So I have learned with Facebook Marketplace, it's a lot easier to be a little stronger with your price over text message than it is in person. So I list a lot of what I have that I feel like is still really good value, and try to sell it that way. And I have sold a lot. You'd be surprised at how much money you're sitting on in your house, just things here and there that mean nothing to you or you don't think are worth anything. They're worth something to somebody else, and you'd be surprised at how much money you can make on Facebook Marketplace just by listing it on there and selling it to people in your area. So I've sold a lot that way, decluttered a lot that way. It makes a lot more room and just breathability in the house when I don't have quite so much stuff laying around, and in drawers and closets and things like that. It has really helped, and you get some money back, so that's an added bonus. My next organizational tip that everyone needs to do is to make sure when you organize a space that you share it with the people living in your house. So you're gonna wanna make sure that the bins are labeled, and you may even want to show them, be like, hey, look, I organized the shelf. This is where this goes, this is where this goes. Because if they don't know what your new system is, and they don't know where things are supposed to go, and things aren't labeled, then they're not gonna know where to put things, and they're just gonna stack things random places and pile them up and not keep up with your organizational system that you have put in place. So make sure when you make changes that you're labeling things, especially for younger kids. And even if they can't read, you can use picture labels. We did that with the girls when they were younger on their toy baskets. We put pictures of what they were. Obviously, when they got older and could read, we would put labels, just typed out with a label maker. You can make them on your computer. But don't assume that people know what you're trying to do with your organization. Make sure you show them what you've done, where things go, show them the labels and be like, look, this is where the towels go, and this is where the sheets go, and all that stuff. So to try, and they still might not put things back where they go, but at least you've shown them your new system, and maybe they'll be a little bit more careful when they put things back when they realize that you have thought this out, you put the work into it, you've labeled it, and everything does have a home. And my last organizational tip, and this is something that I have learned time and time again, if it's not working, don't be afraid to change it. There are so many reasons why you might organize a room or a drawer or a cabinet or a closet, and it may not work. Maybe you were too inspired by someone else, like I said earlier, and you tried to follow exactly what they did, but it didn't work for you and your family and your lifestyle. Maybe your life has changed. Maybe you went from having no kids to having one kid, or maybe you went from having one kid to 2 or 3 kids. Things change. There's constantly changes in your life. There's constantly changes to your family, and things are always going to be ebbing and flowing with changes. And that's just kind of the way life is, and organization is no different. There are plenty of times that I have organized something, it's worked out perfectly, but then after a while it stops working. Whether we have more stuff than we had when I originally organized it, or like with the girls, especially with homeschooling, we are constantly changing things because their homeschooling needs are changing. They're changing curriculum, they're getting older, so we have a lot less games and manipulatives laying around than we used to. We have a lot more textbooks, we have a lot more chapter books. So I'm always trying to make sure that I'm keeping up with those changes in our life and letting that reflect in my organization, because if I don't, things do get stacked up and piled up and laid somewhere because it doesn't have a designated spot. So make sure you're not afraid to make changes. Even if you went out and bought 44 white lattice baskets and you were going to do this amazing thing you saw on Pinterest, if it's not working for you, try to return the baskets if it's not been too long. If it's been too long, try to find somewhere maybe to keep them out of the way. You might use them in a project later on. But don't be afraid to make those changes. Just because you put the time and effort into it originally and you were so hopeful about it, it's okay to change it. That's just kind of how life goes. That's how it goes with organizing. And whenever you accept the fact that it's not working, let's try something else, it gets a lot easier and less stressful when it comes to organizing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and my 7 best tips for how to get organized, how to find the right organizational system for you. I really hope that these tips were helpful. Let me know in the comments, what are your best organizational tips? I know there's plenty more tips out there that I could definitely learn about, and I love learning from you guys. So what are your best organizational tips? If you want to leave those for me in the comments, I read them all, so I'll definitely be reading over those. Also, I'm sure it'd be helpful to everyone else that reads the comments. If you want to leave those tips for everybody to read, that would really be helpful. Make sure if you are not subscribed already that you do, and you hit that little notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload new videos. I upload every single week. If you don't see a video pop up for me, then something weird has gone on. YouTube likes to unsubscribe people. Sometimes they're not notifying people, and lately they've been not even showing my videos in certain people's feeds who are subscribed to me. So just make sure you're subscribed, you click that bell so you'll be notified, and be watching for videos every single week, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.